Yo, what is going on, everyone? Devin Canup here, CEO of Become Viral, back at you with another video about YouTube automation or faceless YouTube channels. And so inside of this video, I'm going to be breaking down what are the niches or the YouTube channels that you should stay away from when you are creating a YouTube channel. So that way you guys aren't wasting any time. You're not going to have issues with monetization. Also, maybe some niches that are good to consider when you're a beginner. So that way you're not doing a niche that's super extremely difficult, going to take you a few years to get results. Also, some niches that are not very high RPM niches, or revenue per mil or revenue per 1,000 views that you get. Basically, these channels don't pay very much compared to other channels that you can go out there and perform. And when we're going through these things to avoid inside of this video, I like to really use this quote by Warren Buffett. I'm paraphrasing it, so this is be a little rough, but basically what Warren Buffett says is it's all about, it's not about how fast you row the boat. Like, let's say that you're in a little tiny rowboat. It's not about how fast that you can row the rowboat, but is a matter of fact of what boat are you in? Are you in a little rowboat and you're having to like work your ass off trying to row it? Or are you in, let's say, like a cruise ship and you're just a passenger on the cruise ship and then that thing can move really quickly? Or a speedboat, and all you got to do to make the boat move faster is just kind of turn the engine on, turn the throttle up, and kind of just point the boat where you want it to go. So inside of here, I'm going to be breaking down how to avoid that tiny little rowboat. So if you're going across the Pacific Ocean, you can get to your destination as fast as possible, or with the least amount of work that's maybe necessary. And you get, like, let's say 10 miles off the coast and you're like, this is not going to work, going all the way over to, let's say, Japan from California. But inside of here, I'm going to help you guys pick the right boat to help you guys get the best results in the long term, in the short term, and help you really achieve and reach financial freedom. Anyways, I'm gonna start right off with the video with like issues with monetization, which is a huge red flag. I recommend to stay as far from these niches as possible. I wouldn't touch these with a 10-foot pole because it's gonna, like, unless you're doing this purely for fun, but you're gonna have issues with your channel getting shut down and all sorts of issues that just aren't worth it to me. So this type of issues with monetization is a lot of times where you're using other people's content as your sole content that you have inside of your video. So if you're doing like a compilation channel, or you're just downloading someone else's video from somewhere else and uploading it onto YouTube, you might be able to get away with it for a little bit. But I definitely recommend staying away from doing these types of niches. When I got started in YouTube automation, these are some of the niches that I did. They're kind of really easy to get going, but you're not going to get very far. And I'm just kind of telling you this from experience. And a lot of my students have kind of told me, I've seen a lot of students or other people try to go and attempt these, and I get DMs every day about all sorts of issues with this. So make sure to stay away from the compilation channels. And mainly inside of this section, stay away from anything that might seem like gray area, because you might be able to get results now, but who knows, all it takes is YouTube to change a rule, which they change it all the time in their community guidelines, and then your channel's demonetized, or you get striked, or you're taken down, or something like that. So try not to just game the rules of YouTube. If you do that, then you're going to run into all sorts of issues. So other examples of this is using text to speech. I know there's actually really good softwares out there now that you can use, so I'm not necessarily opposed of you doing like a Google AI type voice. But like the Daniel voice, like the main text to speech voice that you used to see like a couple years ago, like stay away from that type of stuff. You might be able to get content up, but even like today, like recently in the past month or two, we tried one of these channels again and it got demonetized. So stay away from it. Just try to do like content I'm going to talk about at the end of this video.
Hey guys, it's Daniel. Quit using me as your only voice actor for your channel.
Video. Also, like I said, any sort of content where you're gaming the system, stay away from that. Red flag. Don't touch those at all. I stay far from those as much as possible. So now moving on to the next section is niches that are not very beginner friendly. These are niches that are like kind of either difficult to automate, or it's just going to take a good amount of skills and expertise. So if you're a beginner, I would stay away from these. Maybe if you've been doing YouTube for a while and you're up for a bit of a challenge, some of these niches might take a couple of years to get results, or it just takes a good amount of brain power, and it's really hard to automate when it takes like some specialized work with creativity. So some of these examples are channels that are niches that have a lack of video ideas. So maybe there's like you want to do I don't know, let's say for the sake of the example, like a video about or a channel about mirrors. Maybe you can talk about like 20 or 30 different things about mirrors, but then it gets to a point where you start to run out of content. So you got to kind of diversify. This might be a good idea if you're getting started for the first 10, 20 videos, but you're going to need to have a strategy that you're going to implement after you kind of run with this one little niche. So make sure that you have a channel idea that's not very limited. And if you are, have a game plan of what you're going to do after you run out of video ideas, or else then you're going to get to the run out of video ideas and be like, well, we can't produce any more content, or we can't produce more videos a week, and then you run into some issues. So anything that like really requires a lot of creativity for the video ideas, I try to stay away from, because it's going to be hard to automate unless you can like really turn it into something formulaic, which I'm going to talk about at the end of this video, and something that you can really kind of systemize. So the next section is very general non-niche channels. Now, I know these are kind of like, you'd think these are good channels. You can do kind of like a shotgun approach, upload a bunch of videos about a bunch of different niches. You can talk about like space, and you can talk about history, and you can talk about war, you can talk about cars, you can talk about roller coasters, you can talk about pools. The only thing is when you don't niche down, it's gonna be harder to kind of build an audience to show up and watch your videos on a regular basis. So if you go after like the approach of the channel, like let's say Brightside, it's gonna be very extremely difficult for you to get results as a beginner. It's probably gonna take you a very long time. And it's gonna be hard to build an audience that shows up to every single video you upload. So try to pick one niche at the beginning, so that way you can become the best in that niche. And then once you grow bigger and bigger, then you can change your niche a little bit or become more broad, etc. Always start with a niche, and so that way you guys can get the best results possible. And let's say a video does blow up, you're gonna have to pivot all your content towards that, versus if you have, let's say, 30 videos about, let's say, cars or something like that, then it's like if someone watches one of your videos, it's easy for them to watch the other, let's say, 20 or 30 videos that are on your channel. Versus if you only have one car video and that blows up, then no one's going to watch any of your other content if it doesn't align with that content that you put out. So you're gonna spend a lot of money trying to test different stuff, which I don't know what your budget looks like, but unless you got, let's say, 10, 20 grand to invest into a channel of just uploading for content production, then I would probably stay away from that. And then so the next kind of category that I have for you guys is trendy channels. Don't get me wrong, these are really awesome channels to get results very quickly on, but long-term sustainability, it is very difficult. You always have to be on top of trends. We still do some of these like kind of trendy channels on a fairly regular basis. I prefer channels that are kind of more long-term, but these are a little bit difficult, as well as you kind of have to create super clickbaity content. And not that there's an issue with creating clickbaity content, there's just an issue with when you create clickbait and you don't fulfill the clickbait. Like you say, like Elon Musk quit Tesla and he actually still works at Tesla. You know, like people are gonna watch the video and they're gonna be like, oh wow, I'm gonna click on this. But YouTube can see that you get a lot of dislikes on your video, and they're not gonna recommend your content as much in the future, because they're gonna be like, oh, people didn't like this video. So make content that people love and they really enjoy. And so if you create clickbait, try to make sure that you can fulfill that clickbait. And then last but not least is try to stay away from super saturated niches. I know like a lot of you guys want to start, like, let's say a basketball channel, or let's say football, or let's say cars or something like that. There's a lot of other channels in that space. Just know that it's probably the more saturated a niche is, or like kind of the more long-term like the audience is, the more it is going to, it's just going to take a little bit longer to get results. So don't expect fast results when you do something like that, but it's not the most beginner friendly, and it might take you a year or two to get results, but you are kind of guaranteed to get results. So on top of that, I would stay away from niches that are not super high RPM niches. So things like music, comedy, gaming, drama, maybe Reddit, like things like this where they're very broad and aren't very niche down. Your ad rates are going to be extremely low, so you're not going to make a lot of money. So let's say you're in the music niche. Then what happens is, let's say you get 5 million views on a video, you're only going to get paid, let's say, 50 cents per 1,000 views. So if you get 5 million views, then that means you're only going to get, like, let's say, you're only going to make $2,500 on 5,000 views. Compare that to, let's say that you have, let's say, like a space channel where you have like an $8 CPM or RPM. Then if you get 5 million views with $8 RPM, then that means you made $40,000. So would you rather have the $40,000, or would you rather make $2,500 with the same amount of views? So I usually try to aim for higher RPM niches. You can always go and do these lower RPM niches, but I really wouldn't recommend doing it unless you really are purely doing it for fun or you have a business behind it. So either let's say it's like a personal brand, or let's say that you got products that you can sell. Like if you have a meditation channel where you play meditation music, make sure that you have like, let's say like a $50 a month meditation group or something, some sort of like business model behind it that you're going to make money on versus just purely the ad revenue. So now that we've kind of gone through what do I not recommend or what do I recommend staying away from, this is what I do recommend. Is I really recommend doing niches where there may be a little bit more on the educational side, where maybe places where you have like the top 10% knowledge of the industry. So let's say that you're really into Formula One racing or something like that, then do a channel on that where you have knowledge that most people don't know about. Or if you know a lot about cars, then make educational videos that other people haven't done and talk about what like this information that you have kind of like figured out that no one else has talked about. Stay away from things that are like already been done or very trendy, but try to talk about things that like you have like an expertise or like a knowledge in. On top of that, niches that always have new content, so good ones are sports channels. I did say stay away from like basketball if you are a beginner, but if you want to do a sports channel, do like golf or hockey or tennis. Like a lot of these niches don't have that much competition. They're always being shown on TV. There's always new news going on with these sports, and there's always new things happening. So those are good channels. If you are really creative or you have the tenacity for like the long term of this, and you are okay with waiting a long time to get results, then you can definitely do like, let's say a basketball or football channel. But like I said, just take some time. So just be aware of it when you get into it. And then last but not least, what I usually try to do for all of my channels is I try to have a very formulaic content strategy for it. So what I mean by this is like, there's this channel called What If, and this is an extremely great idea for like a great example for a channel, is because every single video idea that they come up with is pretty easy to come up with. All they do is they title the video What If, and then they say like aliens invaded or aliens took over the world, or what if whales were as big as the Empire State Building. You know, it's like pretty easy to come up with another video idea. You just got to create some sort of crazy idea inside of your head on like a what if scenario, and then you can kind of it's very easy to come up with like hundreds of video ideas inside of that niche. All you gotta do is just sit there with the dictionary or just look around and be like, what if instead of cameras we used, I don't know, but you just try to come up with content strategies where they are very kind of formulaic. So anyways, that's what I got. Down in the link or down in the description down below, I have a free training if you're looking on how to get into Faceless YouTube channels. Just go and click the link down below. It's just a free like hour and a half, 2 hour training where I go over how to do everything from A to Z. But other than that, make sure to subscribe, hit that notification bell, and don't miss out on any future videos that I will be uploading. And also make sure to drop a like, and I will see you guys all in the next one. Peace.